What I have learned doing over 500 psychic readings. I can say that no two readings are the same and so much more. My name is Gabrielle Celeste. I am the owner of AGUA Astrology and I read a lot of energy. I'm an astrologer. I do tarot. I practice numerology as well, practice mediumship. And what I can say after reading so many different people from all over the world, either in person, via Zoom, or written readings, I can say that oftentimes, no, every single time actually, every single time there's something going on with your energetic field, it's going to show up within one of your chakras. And at least the way that I read, I will say that oftentimes this is probably one of three takeaways that I'll do in this video. More oftentimes than not, the solar plexus is always a chakra. The solar plexus, which rules your self-esteem, your self-worth, confidence, your willpower, it's your I am, it's your sense of being, and it is also your largest chakra. It comes up in every single reading for me, and I almost wonder if it's like a theme that's being reflected back to myself, but it's one in which more times than not, people need to, at least what I've seen in session, people need to consistently work on to amplify it, to boost it up. And the reasons in which said chakra needs to be worked on is going to look a little bit different for each person. However, I think that it's one that's impacted the most if you're not in your sovereignty and you're not enforcing boundaries and you're not taking care of yourself on all layers, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and so forth. And I think it's also the one that if you invest into it in whichever way makes sense for you, if you're essentially taking care of yourself and you're investing in your health on a daily matter, if you're watching what you put into your body, especially because the solar plexus chakra is right on your tummy, is directly related to your source of power and your nutrition. You know, that's one way in which you can invest in yourself and take care of your well-being. I think spiritually having a connection to, you know, a source higher than yourself, if you're into that or not, definitely shows up in relation to the solar plexus, feeling like you're good enough or you're worthy of having anything. It always comes up in some way, and again, the reasons as to which it is or isn't going to be amplified and strengthened, it's going to look different for every single person, but 10 out of 10 times, those who are interested in actually bettering themselves are likely to have it come up. And it's actually a good thing that it comes up because you are doing the work, so to say, or at least wanting and desiring and taking those first steps to do the work to boost up and amplify and strengthen your solar plexus. So, solar plexus, this is the first takeaway. Solar plexus comes up in every single reading. And I've only no more than 10 times out of the 500 that I've done can I say that the solar plexus is actually like in a really good spot. Maybe it's a reflection of the time, the sign of the world, and where we're at as a collective. But I think there's something to be said. And again, it could be for me, but I think there's something to be said about that. So the solar plexus is a chakra that's always going to need some support. The second takeaway is that if you're open and willing, every single psychic reading that you perform is going to have medicine for you in the sense of it's actually something that you're actively working through now, or it's something that you're already ahead of and have just worked through, and you can advise someone with giving your embodied hands-on experience. And that happened for me quite a bit at the beginning of my practice. It came up a lot in the area of relationships and settling for less, whether the relationship was platonic or not, and accepting less than what you're worthy of. So your readings, those who come to you, are always going to, the client and what they're coming to you asking for support with, are always going to have some type of takeaway are always going to have some type of lesson. They're always going to have some type of lesson for you. And then the final takeaway, and this one we'll just keep it short and sweet. The final takeaway that I would say after doing so many readings is that where you're going and your capacity to meet people where they're at is going to directly be relative to your healing and how much more you expand your consciousness, or don't, or just stay where you're at if you choose to. But it's going to be directly reflective of your clientele who's coming to seek your services and support, and the capacity in which you can hold space for said client is directly reflective of your own healing growth. And I think I mean that more, not in the emotional sense. I think people really do have the capacity to hold space for people because there's a level of empathy and compassion that humans have. I mean that more in the capacity of numbers and quite literally the amount of people that you can hold space for, given how much you do the work yourself and also how deep into the work that you get, because then you'll be able to better support and give something to said client depending on what they're looking for help with. So I would say those are my quick takeaways after doing 500 readings at this point. And I'm sure there's tons more coming my way, but I just wanted to keep this video simple and sweet and short and sweet. And yeah, you can book and find me at all the links below. And I'm just excited to just keep this going and share as much information as valuable. Thank you.